Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I am Reverend Low Shorty, and this is another one this week where I've actually recorded it in the morning. I usually do them the night before, but I've had a busy week. It's been great. We're going to talk about Robowolf today, and honestly, that title alone was enough to have me pay attention when I was doing my solicitations for the months ahead. Sometimes it can just be a title that jumps out at me, and I wanted to know what the hell kind of comic book Robowolf was. I actually did a little bit of poking around before I ordered it, because no one customer had ever asked us to get this in store, but I was still like, yeah, with a title like that, I'm going to pay attention, and the cover absolutely grabbed me. It's very much got a Saturday morning cartoon, from the 80s and 90s kind of vibe to it, with an almost vaporwave-esque kind of colour scheme. Doesn't go full onto that, but enough that it's reminiscent of. And I was like, right, okay, just with how kind of badass this looks, I'm gonna have to give it a go. And I got it in, and 100%, it is exactly kind of what I expected. Plus a little bit more as well. I was 100% expecting the aesthetic. The leaning into the vaporwave colour scheme more throughout the book was kind of nice to see. It does have that retro futurist kind of vibe a little bit of what somebody in the 70s or 80s or even 90s might have thought the future seen through an almost cyberpunk William Gibson-esque kind of lens could look like. And I do admire it. I think it's fantastic. It grabbed me really, really effectively. But it also starts very early on with an almost Justice Warriors level of sense of humour, which I'm 100% down for. The artwork is better than Justice Warriors starter, although it did get better as it went on. I've got to give it credit for that one. But it also has a full-on anti-cop vibe, which I thoroughly enjoy, unsurprisingly, for anyone who's watched my videos for a while. And I was like, yeah, okay, I feel like this is one of those comic books which could very well be something written by somebody who's met me and thought, I want to make a comic book for Shorty. Probably the only big difference I'll say is some of the cartoony style artwork is a little bit too much. Now, I don't think this is a criticism that's going to stop people getting it, because it's clearly intentional, but there's something about some of the eyes, and I'm not sure if this is only something I'm seeing it mostly on femme-presenting characters, but it just strikes me a little bit odd that they've got almost the big eye, small mouth anime kind of thing going on, whereas most of the other masculine-presenting characters haven't. But it's a very small, minor little criticism, because all the other character designs are fantastic, including one guy whose name I'm totally blanking on right now, who literally looks like he's been decapitated at some point, and then his sun-bleached skull has been put back on top in some kind of weird hovering way so you can still see the neck stump, and he's got a mohawk just on his skull. It's bizarre and wonderful, and that kind of bizarre nature is what really grabbed me and kept me going on throughout it. Throw in the fact that this is not just like the 80s and 90s Saturday morning cartoon, but also the approach to writing action sequences, which feels really odd because of the aesthetic and then the ultra-violence that's used. It makes it all seem absurd, but in a way that really works for me. Because sometimes people in the comic book kind of point out that it's absurd that they're doing this. But then you also have a crime boss with two heads, but only one of them's into crime. The other one really isn't happy with that. And then at some point, somebody tries to punch the crime boss, hits the other guy, and the crime boss like, oh wait, no, leave him alone, he's no part of this. And it's just hilarious. I love that. It's one of those things which works both visually as just a fantastic sight gag to see, but the setup of the characters and then the payoff of the line, I just think was fantastic. So much effort put into it. Fantastic little flashback sequence explaining what's going on. Introduction through single shots with very little dialogue to a whole bunch of bad guys who he's going to have to go to, have to fight against. Pretty much the only character which I don't feel is very well realised is Robowolf himself, but that 100% feels like it's done on purpose, because he is kind of a one-dimensional action movie character, but that's what he is. It's not like there's no effort to make him better than that, because he should have more depth to him. His entire thing is, oh yeah, I'm a really bad father because I'm going off robbing banks, and then one day while I was off doing something, my daughter was kidnapped by somebody who I used to rob banks with, and now I'm going to go and be badass. And he just totally doesn't get people making jokes at his expense because he's kind of dumb, but he's got amazing guns and he's really good at what he does, and he's a literal robo-wolf. There's so much just to love about it, but just as long as you're okay with how absurd it goes, then I think you're in for an absolute treat. I, for one, thoroughly enjoyed it. Huge props to Jake Smith. Wrote it, did the art for it. I think did the colours for it as well. If not, I apologise. Your colourist absolutely deserves credit if somebody else did that for you, because it's amazing. Honestly, check it out. It's amazing. That's it for me today. For the weekend fads. So I'll see you all again. Look after yourself. Stay safe. Bye.